What's going on, people? 4:33 in the late afternoon. It's the 19th of August. Less than 3 weeks out to regular season football. Few days out from the preseason finale down in Landover, Maryland. It's the Commanders and Ravens. And I am just a few hours out from my departure to Vegas for the annual contest weekend that I attend. It's been a couple years, but it is an annual contest weekend that Circa Resort and Casino puts on. And I cannot wait to get back out to Vegas. About 10, 15 minutes off the strip. Stadium Swim, if you've heard of it. Man, I'm going to tell you everything about what's coming up this week, and I look forward to hopefully having you join me along for the ride, whether it be virtually or if you're out on the West Coast, maybe you'll pop into Vegas. Again, Circa Resort and Casino. It's August 21st through the 23rd, and I am West Coast bound starting tomorrow morning. Sarah will be solo on the Vault on Wednesday and the following Monday. Jason Smith from Huddle It Up Films will come on Monday. This is all on the Vault for a roster projection show special. So there's a lot coming up, and there's a lot coming up in this episode, which again is brought to you by my friends at Circa Resort. Yes, I got the fresh cut a little while ago. I feel like I have the beginning stages of poison ivy on my wrist from a big project this past weekend. You can't really see it, but trust me, it's starting to itch. That could be problematic as I get ready to head west. But here's what I got coming up for you in today's show. Rod Woodson, NFL Hall of Famer, former Raven, former Steeler, former Raider. He had some things to say in terms of what he feels like is holding the Ravens back in the month of January. Not sure if I've heard these exact comments before. So interesting. And obviously the messenger is even more interesting, holds a lot of weight when you talk about the Hall of Famer, Rod Woodson, who still is involved with the Ravens as a color commentator this time of year alongside Jerry Sandusky. After that, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about. Travis Jones is he primed for a big-time Pro Bowl, dare I say, all-pro caliber kind of season? Michael Pierce is no longer in Baltimore. This dude is he's a load to deal with. And I think what he brings explosiveness-wise, strength-wise, IQ, everything else, run-clogging ability at that nose tackle position, there's a lot coming up for one Travis Jones, and they're speaking very highly of him around Raven circles. So we'll talk about that a little bit and a number of other things. I'm glad you can join me. Please like the video on your way in. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member and go check out thevaultpod.com/shop to check out our new apparel line that we dropped recently. So just to catch you fully up to speed here on Rod Woodson's comments. This is not exactly related, but earlier in the week, Sarah and I covered this, and just in case you missed it, I loved this. Chris Cooper, good Ravens follow, tweeted out that what he heard on the broadcast over the weekend, Cowboys-Ravens preseason. And Rod Woodson said that Lamar couldn't beat the Ravens 2000 defense, the championship-winning, historic 2000 Ravens defense, okay? That starts to garner some traction online, as you would expect. And it came across Lamar's timeline. And he quote tweeted and was like, yo, brah, 2 different eras, but it sounds good though. And he wasn't done and was nowhere near finished from there. Here's another exchange in his mentions. Joshua was like, what he meant was you couldn't run the ball on them. And Lamar is like, brah, I play for the Ravens. I'm not even against them. So let's put him on his Raiders team. I see a lot of running lanes with them, and I love me versus him open field. Okay, showing that inner fire, that competitive spirit. He goes, all y'all doing is making this a 1v11 thing. Ask him what would he have done in the open field with him, and I know for 1,000,000% he wasn't going to win that battle. So again, Lamar, rare occasions, takes to Twitter and lets us inside, right? Peels back the curtain a little bit in terms of what makes him one of one from just a fierceness standpoint. Jeremy's like, I mean, are we playing this under the rules of this era or that one? That era, I don't know, because they really punished the quarterback. This era, Lamar would slice through them or get a lot of PI calls or roughing. And Lamar's like, I hear all of that about the rules, but you don't think I'll sit there and let these people do what they do to other quarterbacks back then? As if to say he's going to run through them, around them, slice them, dice them, you name it, as he's done to all pros, pro bowlers, and players alike throughout NFL seasons, 7 years running and counting, going into his 8th season, which is hard to believe. So just some context into the Rod Woodson Lamar discussion from earlier in the week, right? I think that probably was taken out of context in some cases. I'm not saying Chris did that by any stretch from sharing this tweet right here. I think he was just simply stating what he heard from Rod Woodson, and it's competitive spirit versus competitive spirit. Former Hall of Famer or a current NFL Hall of Famer in Rod and a future Hall of Famer in Lamar. Both of these guys have ground to stand on. Rod's obviously, or I should say Lamar's chasing what Rod has, which is a Super Bowl championship. But we know who has the more decorated resume, and Lamar will one day be in Canton. I think we all know that. Okay, that now catches us up to speed. Rod Woodson, again, absolutely no bad blood whatsoever, no malintent by these tweets, simply competitive spirit. He had this to say to Rich Eisen earlier today on his show about what's holding the Ravens back from getting it done in the month of January.
Roster and the Ravens are loaded, as you pointed out. But so I'll just take one last swing at this thing. Is what does it take? Because it's not John Harbaugh either. I mean, this is a guy who's on the way to a Hall of Fame, and it's not the front office. It's certainly not ownership. It's something like, what do you like? How does one play your best when it's one and done and everybody knows you're good enough, but it hasn't been good enough over the last few years? How do we deal with this, Rod?
And I don't want to say they don't have leaders, because I think they do.
Mm-hmm.
But the times they've won the Super Bowls, I mean, Ray was that alpha guy in the locker room, on the sideline. And I think something like that has to happen somewhere along the line during these type of games. Somebody has to rally the troops. It can't be the coaches. It can't be the coaching staff. It can't be the head coach. It has to be the players that rally themselves on the sideline or talking to themselves on the sideline. And Lamar's not an outgoing spoken person in a sense like that,
right? But
he is a leader. And for me, I think we need another guy on that offensive side to be more vocal, along with Lamar. Defensively, we know Rowe is there.
Right.
They got some players. We know Kyle Hamilton, even though he's young, people are going to listen to him because he is a player.
Right.
So they have the pieces to the puzzle on that defensive side. I just think they need another voice on the offensive side to go along with Lamar during the games.
Okay, so the highly respected Rod Woodson, in no stretch of the imagination, is, I think, slighting Lamar. I don't read it that way whatsoever. I think that's a fact. Lamar Jackson is a leader. That's a fact. Lamar Jackson is a very different leader, and maybe even by example over his years. And maybe that starts to change. I mean, we've heard about the uptick in his vocal outreach, his vocal reinforcement, right? Especially this summer with the beat community sharing just how vocal he's been, just how, what's the right word? He's been animated, spirited, right? I think both can be true. Lamar's more of a lead by example kind of guy, very different than the player who Rod suited up beside in Ray Lewis. Both are Hall of Famers. Both are all-time greats. Obviously, we know that Lamar is trying to chase what Ray has achieved twice throughout his Hall of Fame career. I think both things can be true. And are the Ravens in need of, what becomes the question is, are the Ravens in need of more leadership? Because that's what Rod is suggesting. He's saying that's not going to come from the head coach in terms of what they need to improve upon, from a what's going to get them over the top standpoint when it matters the most. A lot of you will pinpoint and point the finger at John Harbaugh. I think that's a fair discussion to be had when you look at the AFC Championship and the shortcomings that went with that loss to the Chiefs in January of 2024. Last year, I don't think that's fair. I think the Ravens beat themselves, and I will point to player execution last year. And so is there one specific answer to what they're missing? Or are we just all sitting here trying to come up with something that'll give us comfort to try and answer this question that's been a burning one for years now throughout this Lamar era? To me, last year is all about execution. Mark Andrews catches that football. There's more ball security in the first half of that Bills game. Mark Andrews runs straight instead of, at one point in that game, we all remember the route that he chose to run around the player instead of right down the middle. Things look different. There was a lack of player execution in that game. We can sit here all we want and say that the Ravens weren't ready enough. That falls on the coaches, right? They didn't come to play. They weren't fully prepared. I have a hard time sitting on that. That's not the ground I choose to stand on. Last year, the shortcoming was player execution. That's where I'm at. We can have the conversation about game plan, strategizing, and ultimately abandoning the run after a historic season in that department when it was Ravens Chiefs. We can talk about the lack of preparation. We can talk about the lack of discipline in that game between the lines. Tempers flared at times. They were undisciplined. They were unpolished. We can talk about that all we want. But what's happening in the here and now? What was the major theme of last year? The major theme that reared its ugly head in that divisional round game, and it's not to revisit these shortcomings, but when a Hall of Famer like Rod Woodson speaks and shares that opinion on what they're missing, it makes me think about what was their Achilles heel last year. It wasn't the coaches. It wasn't personnel and a shortage of personnel. Lack of execution. Starts and ends with a lack of execution. The Ravens beat themselves. They beat themselves semi-regularly throughout the regular season. Still were able to go 12-5. Still were able to wrap up the division title. Still were able to host a home playoff game, win a home playoff game, and then go on the road and beat themselves on that Western New York type cold Arctic night against the Bills. So what are they missing? To date, they're just missing execution when it matters. I can't sit here and, while I absolutely respect, Rod's been the player. Rod's the Hall of Famer. Rod's been in those Super Bowl winning shoes. He's been in those moments. And so when he says that this isn't going to come from Harbaugh to get him over the top, I believe him. It's something that's got to come from within that locker room, from within player leadership. And then obviously you need a little bit of luck along the way as well. But that's where I'm at on this. Ravens have everything they need. That's the beauty of it. It's not like there's a missing piece. Like I think for a lot of the early Lamar years, we could have sang and shouted from the rooftops. Build around the guy. There's no wide receiver core around the guy. Injury plagued. Defense, which has been a perpetual issue for them throughout the postseason, throughout Lamar's career, has not shown up in the form of takeaways, momentum shifting takeaways. That's something that Lamar could use. My God, you look at the numbers over Lamar's playoff career. His defense, sure, they've posted good games in terms of output and what they've allowed, I should say. But what they've created, we're still waiting on. They've really struggled to take the football away from the opponent. Give Lamar more chances. Momentum shift. Manny's like, can we scream and shout from the rooftops about right guard? Well, guess what, Manny? Right guard is solidified. John Harbaugh, just a short while ago, noting that backup rotations and final 9 to 10 players on the offensive line, right? The final 9 or 10 players, meaning 9th and 10th on the offensive line, are still being worked through. But starting 5 is now set. And it's the one that I think we would have projected all along when looking at this group. Ronnie Stanley will be your starting left tackle. He was paid handsomely in the form of an extension. Lifetime Raven continues to stay in Baltimore after his March deal. A resurgent couple years for the Guru. Andrew Voorhees, after losing his job, injury was related to that last year. He won the job at first, then lost it to Patrick McCary. He'll be your left guard, putting together a nice preseason as Andrew. Tyler Linderbaum, of course, the centerpiece, pun intended. Daniel Fa'alele is your right guard. Has there been any talk about him in recent weeks? Some not-so-great tape, as we've all watched, and some not-so-great reps. And some pretty stout reps, and a good solid step forward for him in week 2 against Dallas. I know it's a small sample size. And I know the poor plays, the piss poor plays, tend to not be forgotten, nor should they. Or as they should be, right? They should not be forgotten. But Fa'alele's your guy, and based on what he did last year, after a really brutal start, I think he's earned the right. I don't know about trust, but based on what they have behind him, I know you guys probably, again, you go back up to the rooftops and say, what the hell? Ben Cleveland should be the guy. He's had plenty of chances. Ben has had plenty of chances. And the fact that they're going, really trotting out a below average right guard tells you a lot about how they evaluate Ben Cleveland and tells you a lot about what they have currently at that position in their minds. Emory Jones going down with the labrum and that lingering post-procedure, and likely now to start the season on NFI, meaning he'll at the very least, be out for the first 4 weeks. That obviously has muddied the water here. And Patrick McCary, of course, walking in free agency to Jacksonville, takes him out, who's been the Swiss Army knife for them up and down their offensive line for years now. So they're going with Fa'alele. Lamar will obviously continue to mask some of his woes. That's the greatness that he brings to the table on a weekly basis. But that's the reality of where they're starting. And of course, the second-year player after a tremendous first season, Roger Rosengarten, former second-round pick. He'll be your right tackle and round out the projected, really now it's confirmed, no longer projected, starting 5 coming up in less than 3 weeks from now when the Ravens and Bills go at it week 1, Sunday Night Football, Highmark Stadium, Buffalo, New York. Travis Jones, boy, he's going to be out there getting after the quarterback, getting after Buffalo's run game and everything else that he presents. And I can't wait to talk about the big fella, big number 98, in just a second. But first, as I mentioned at the top, it is contest weekend. And contest week in Vegas. I'm off to Las Vegas, Nevada, coming up tomorrow morning. And the 21st to the 23rd, the Ultimate Contest Weekend officially commences. This will be my second time. It's an annual event that Circa Las Vegas puts on. It's the biggest football contest in Vegas. You got Circa Million and Circa Survivor. They're back with a massive $21 million in guaranteed prizes. If you got Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and you can learn more about them as you scroll with a link that you can easily go check out yourself and toggle through circasports.com. I have one in the live chat that's a pinned comment, another one on the top of the show notes. But here's basically what's going on in the order of events. And I would love to see you guys out there if you're in the area. I remember meeting JR Crypto out there during the Super Bowl one year. That was awesome. But on the 21st, this is going to be a Radio Row format. So you know what I do every single year when I'm out? Like last year, I was in New Orleans. The year prior, I was in Vegas, working the Radio Row leading into Super Bowl week. It's kind of similar in the sense that a bunch of different outlets descend onto this ballroom, this Galaxy ballroom at Circa. And from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., there's programming, there's live shows, and I'll be there. Over 30 outlets, radio shows, podcasts, and more. There'll be a cocktail party, meet and greet for those of you that might want to pop in. That's from 6:30 to 9 on opening night, the 21st. Derek Stevens, Circa Sports CEO, will be hanging around. Mike Palm as well. I see Mike Palm on all the time with my guy Tim Murray, for those of you that watch VSiN. And then Friday, August 22nd, coming up this week, another full day of Radio Row activities from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then Stadium Swim from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 4 p.m. that is, will be going on simultaneously. If you aren't familiar with Stadium Swim, go get yourself familiarized. This place is electric, and I'll show you it in just a second. They'll have a blackjack shootout from 6 to 8. The Legacy Club mixer, which looks out over all of Vegas. Freaking awesome. The skyline's ridiculous. That's from 8 to 10. Look, I mean, events go swinging into the weekend, and I believe you can reserve a Stadium Swim spot. Take a look. Take a look at this ridiculousness. I'm going to be out in the sea of Stadium Swim. Let's go. Why don't I show you this once more? Oh, my God. Look at the Jumbotrons. Look at the swimming pools. Look at all the cabanas. Look at the bars. I mean, this is It's a sports fan's dream. I look forward to getting back out there to Circa. It's circasports.com. It's the show notes. What's it right now? 104 degrees, 94-degree water temp. Oh, my white skin is so sunk, and I hope you guys are ready for the content that I have coming out of there. All right, you guys know the drill. Bobby Baltimore, Instagram. Lord knows what's going to be going on there. Let's keep it filtered, big guy. Mrs. Trosset might be hanging around there, but, what are you going to do? Circa Las Vegas. There you have it. Ultimate kickoff weekend. That's for football later on. I mean, literally the events are never ending. Look at the night shot of Stadium Swim. Stadium Swim's got its own Instagram profile, by the way. Yeah. Look at this. Can't recommend it enough. And there will be plenty, and I promise you, plenty of content coming from my Instagram page. You guys know the drill by now. It's Bobby Baltimore. I'll drop that link in. Would love to connect with you over there. Just dropped it into the live chat. Special thanks to Circa Sports for the continued support, continued belief in what we're building here. And with that, let's get to the big fella, the run stuffer specialist himself. Man, he clogs holes in that defensive line. There aren't as many gaps and lanes for runners when big Travis Jones is out there. Listen to defensive line coach Dennis Johnson today at the podium. Talk about the big fella from UConn. Remember him from a few years back? Big number 98.
Travis Jones is. I expect Travis to be the best player on the field whenever he's on the field in general. And I think that Travis expects that for himself, just to be more dominant and be more consistent with being dominant. Last year, had some injuries up and down, but really looking for this year for him just to really go out there, from the start to the finish and just be the powerful run-stopping.
Okay. Dennis Johnson speaking very highly of what he expects from Travis Jones. Says that he expects him to be the best player on the field whenever he's out there. What about Broderick Washington? Said, hey, a healthy Travis Jones will show people he's the best nose tackle in the National Football League. Big TJ, Travis Jones, third rounder from 2022, 76th overall out of UConn. He's a beast, man. Michael Pierce retired last year, as we all know. And now Travis Jones, I think, and Tavius Robinson kind of cut from that same breakout cloth that I think a lot of people are forecasting big upcoming seasons. There's just something about Travis, man. He's the fact that last year he was able to still have an impact given the ankle. I mean, that was a significant ankle injury that he was dealing with last year. And there's video of him just hobbling around. He's got a vicious pair of hands. He's explosive. He just clogs up space. He's a running back's nightmare. And I'm going to show you one specific clip that I just love. It's an all-22 film. This was from the Raiders game. I'm just going to go ahead and download this in real time because big number 98 is one of those players whose dirty work does not often show up in the stat sheet, right? Kind of like Mike Green so far this preseason. Like, you got to dig deep to see what he's up to sometimes. Not always flashing when it comes to the box score analysis. I think we all get caught sometimes doing that. You got to look a little bit deeper. All right, take a look at this. Take a look at this big fella go to work. Travis Jones. That's a problem. That's a problem right there. All right. Run that back. Oof. Look at what he does to this lineman. Bang, get out. Get out of my way. 75 just gets manhandled, and then he just goes, eats up the rusher. Who's that rusher? Who is that? Who was rushing? Help me out here. Who was rushing the rock for Vegas last year? I need help. Running back, number 22, 2024. Who was that? Alexander Madison? I think it was Madison. But just, who cares who's on the other side? These are professional athletes. Look at this. Look at what he does to 75. That's a certain level of that's just violent. Move. Swallow. I mean, that's big time. Yeah. Ravens 912. He's got that water boy strength. I mean, that's a lot of fun to watch. Is he a household name off after 2025? Is Tavius Robinson a household name? If you're a betting man, it's got to be one of those players, right? Sure, it's a crowded outside linebacker room for Tavius. He's showing signs that he's absolutely capable of being that guy. Just one more. Look out for that boy in the club. A little bit. There's a brawl in the club. You don't want number 98 around. All right, you're going down, and you're going down quick. Just look at him. Bang. Madison had no chance. Gone. Plays over before it even started. Cole Jackson's calling me right now. Let's do this. Ready? Live right now on my channel. The people want to know Travis Jones. Predictions for Mew. He hung up. Why did he hang up? Hold on a second. We're calling this guy back.
Did I call you while you were live?
Yeah, we're still live, and everybody wants to know why you hung up on us.
I thought you were talking on a live show so that I'd hear it and hang up.
Everybody in the chat's like, was it something we said?
No, it wasn't. What's going on?
Well, first of all, we're watching Travis Jones film right now, just because everybody's talking about him today, and I'm sure we'll fit in at least a couple of minutes tonight, being that Jeff was all over it. But what most excites you? How about that? A little tease, and I'll let you go. What most excites you about our roster projection show coming up?
Most exciting part, I think, is diving into the last few spots on the defense, specifically that inside linebacker competition. I think a lot of people want to get some insight on what to expect about Jay Higgins and, Ruben Lowry, those guys that are making plays for the last few spots. But quickly on Travis Jones, this kid's ceiling is sky high. And I think what the Ravens really need to do is make sure that they have enough depth to manage his snaps. Not having Michael Pierce this year is going to make a big difference because that little 1-2 punch that they had when they were both healthy kept both fresh, kept the impact high. So they're going to have to find a way to recreate that, and that might be going lighter without a traditional nose. So, a guy like Anise Peebles maybe becomes more of a factor to keep Jones' snaps light. So I think that's going to be the big piece on Travis Jones.
You're a pro. This is the best segment ever. I'll catch up with you in a few minutes. I'll call you back.
Yeah, give me a call.
All right, later. Oh, God, I love him. 8 o'clock Eastern, Ravens Collective. What a great way of teasing what we have coming up tonight. And obviously, I just want to kind of reiterate, now that we're out on a tangent, that Cole and I and Jeff Zaribek of The Athletic are super excited about this new initiative that we have going on. I mean, we're all super busy with what we do day to day. Cole literally has a full-time job outside the space. Jeff writes for The Athletic, does a ton of other things, and he's a father of young kids. I think maybe there are 1 or 2 kids at home. So Cole's got a couple kids at home. Needless to say, I mean, it's so much fun, and I appreciate these guys for being interested in carving out this kind of time, Tuesdays all season long, and then maybe even into the offseason as well. And if we start to get good response from you guys and it starts to make sense from a viewership standpoint, maybe we beef that up a little bit, go to 2 shows a week. But for right now, it's 8 o'clock Eastern on Tuesdays. I just dropped the link into the chat. I would love for you guys to subscribe. We're coming up on 2,000 subscriptions. Ravens Collective, okay, over 1,800 subscriptions. We're closing in on monetization, and there's a shit ton of content for you guys once a week, and then we do repurpose stuff. So I think it's going to be a fun time. Here it is tonight. What's going on here? Let's see. Making the 53, Ravens roster battles heat up. Can we get this show to 500 likes? There's 5 votes so far. Let me go ahead and make it 6. And people are already chiming in. So, yeah, it's also available in the audio space. I'm going to go ahead and like that as well. If you guys could do the same, it would mean a lot. And that was very impromptu. So thanks to Cole Jackson for allowing us to promote the show. How about it? Ravens Collective. I think we got enough on Travis Jones, didn't we? I think so. Appreciate you guys for hanging out. Thanks to Circa Sports for the opportunity to fly out to Vegas. They're literally handling this entire thing, and I'm very, very excited for this opportunity. And to meet up with my guy, Jake Asman, who runs his Jets YouTube channel. Andrew G says, got to do a call-in from subs. Would love the chat. You already know the guest lines are going to be opening up soon in the coming weeks as we turn a page into regular season football. That is absolutely something that I plan on revisiting, and I'm very excited about it. So don't you worry, Andrew. It's coming back. There's just a lot of dominoes falling right now, and there's a lot to be excited about on all three channels: the Bobby Baltimore channel, the Vault, and the Collective. And the beauty of it is all three kind of play off one another. The Vault is daily year-round, not including pre- and post-game shows on game days at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday, year-round, and then pre- and post-game shows once the season begins. My channel, typically late afternoon window, and then the Collective, as of right now, which is subject to perhaps an uptick at some point, is 8 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday nights. So that's what we have going on. Appreciate you guys for understanding. Would love for you, if you haven't already done so, to hit the Discord group. There are, let's see, did we hit 900 yet? Okay. Can somebody become our 900th member before I log off? I would appreciate it. Who can become member number 900 for me? Because right now, as you see, Scooby, my guy 1261_Scooby, is our member number 899. So who can be lucky number 900? Why don't I go ahead and throw that in the chat? It's free to join. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. There's a lot going on at all times. Baseball chatter. How about Basayo being up? Got his first big league hit the other night. I'm sure he'll struggle a little bit in the early going, but man, he's got a ton of talent. A lot of Ravens content in here, obviously, in the football chat. Somebody, Dreams, got a like from Chris Canty on Twitter. Was letting us all know about it. Who's going to be member number 900? Let me know. Matter of fact, I'll even sweeten the pot. How about it? Whoever becomes member number 900, I will personally gift you a gift. Personally gift you a gift. No, I will personally get you a gift through the vaultpod.com/shop. Who's it going to be? Whoever pops up right here before I log off. Here it is. Sweet Potato 17. Let me know. Sweet Potato 17, thevaultpod.com/shop. I owe you a piece of merch. So let me know. Hit me up. You can DM me. You can email me. You know how to find me. I'm not hard to find, as Deion Sanders says. There it is. vaultpod.com/shop. Go check it out. Get yourself a golf polo. These things are sweet. I'd love to get you one. Or what about the snapback? So Sweet Potato 17, I hope to be hearing from you. Thank you for the support. And thanks to everybody for 900 channel members in the Discord group. That's awesome. And I hope we can get that 1,000 at some point early on in the season, because we're growing, baby. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I know there's not hour-long streams these days, but it's just because I'm biting off a lot more than I can chew. So join us tonight on the Collective. It's 8 o'clock Eastern. Roster projection cut down special. Myself, Jeff Zrebeck, Cole Jackson. I look forward to it. You guys are the best. Catch up with you.